Europe, a continent with blurred edges, is the world's smallest and most densely populated. Divided into 45 states with 720 million inhabitants, it appears a prosperous continent where most of the population seem to have attained an enviable affluence and food security. A security where women have a decisive role, with their work in agriculture, in stock raising and in the sale of farming products in markets, shops and large retail chain stores, in catering as in small family-run restaurants. But alongside this Europe, where the only food problems appear to be those related to an excess of food and where certainties can be questioned by incumbent and unforeseeable humanitarian catastrophes, there is a less developed Europe, where traditional forms of agriculture, closer to the reality of developing countries, continue to exist. In some countries in Eastern Europe, where more than half of the population still live in rural areas, political changes and market reforms have increased unemployment and social insecurity over the past few years, especially for women, who often have to support the burden of the whole family alone, since the men have left the countryside in search of more profitable employment. My mother and my sisters bake our traditional bread. I come to the city and sell it in the market for 500 dram, about $1, a kilo. It is the family's only source of survival. The sudden change in the political, legislative, economic and distribution system in many of the countries that gravitated around the ex-USSR, such as Armenia, where expenditure for food represents about 60 to 70% of the family budget, has affected the categories most at risk.
After collapse of Soviet Union, in Armenia, this was first country when land was privatized, and women in general work. It's very hard work for them to cultivate without any mechanisms.
An adequate policy in support of agriculture, which is lacking today, including loans for training and mechanization, could offer new potential to women farmers. Family chicken coops, orchards and kitchen gardens play an important role in the food security of these countries. Preparing and preserving food for the long winters is also an all-female job and decisive to ensure the necessary nutritional requirements for the family. To preserve rabbit, first you leave it in salt for 2 days, then you fry it in butter, and then you put it into these sealed glass jars. That way we can use it until next spring.
I
am a teacher. After the lessons, I help my mother in the kitchen. It's autumn now, and we have to make the preserves for the winter. According to recent statistics, and thanks to new development programs supported by the FAO, agricultural production in the whole area has slightly increased, thanks also to the commitment of the new women entrepreneurs. Chickens and cows. Today, 18 women work here with their families, and the wages they receive are higher than average. In other regions of Europe, women have already set up innovative forms of agriculture. In Italy, for example, trainees on a course for women farmers celebrate the end of the lessons. It is an opportunity for them to talk about their activities and the products of a selected agriculture, with a risotto party that is also a moment of celebration.
The
course was organized to valorize women farmers' work and build something up together.
e di magari trovare anche lo spunto per costruire qualcosa insieme.
Nelle donne vi è un filo verde che unisce.
In women there is a green streak that unites the demand for improved quality agriculture with the need to put food at the center of problems, in common with developing countries.
Incredibili nei paesi sviluppati e anche nei paesi in via di sviluppo.
La nostra scelta di venire a vivere qui è legata
Our decision to live here is related to a need to get closer to the earth.
Riavvicinamento alla terra.
There aren't many women in farming because it's hard work and takes up a lot of time. I used to be an architect, but I get more satisfaction out of this work. All over Europe, despite the lack of an efficient state loan system, women's farming is seeking out new outlets, taking advantage of traditions and gastronomic and cultural specialities to secure market niches for consumers particularly interested in the quality of products.
As you know, we're very much in rural Ireland. It supplements the farm income, and at least it leaves the farm in a way that it's together, they're viable.
Cheese, jams, preserves and fresh fruit produced according to local traditions, but also organically grown vegetables, are increasingly in demand.
We discovered through various surveys we did that people were willing to buy organic produce if the price was right and if the quality was good enough. We decided in the end to approach the local wholesalers who supply the local shops, and we sold directly to them. We also did garden sales where people came down to the garden and picked their own produce.
Another important sector in rapid expansion, almost entirely run by women, is that of rural tourism, a source of extra income during slack periods of farming work. Government and European Commission funds have been allocated to improve structures and suitable training. This cookery school offers bed and breakfast owners in Ireland's Moe Valley ideas for simple and tasty dishes to offer their guests. It is also an opportunity to present new products.
This cheese, it's a new concept in cheese in this country. The closest thing to it is an import it's from Greece, I think. It's called halloumi. This cheese can be cooked. It can be fried, grilled, baked. In fact, you can do absolutely anything with it.
Much further south, in the hills surrounding the Gulf of La Spezia, we meet the first woman entrepreneur to have embarked on this activity. For our rural tourism, we have a whole series of animals that we use as food for our guests. Hens, guinea fowl, ducks, geese.
Loro chiedono soprattutto che quello che mangiano a tavola siano prodotti nostri.
Our guests want to eat what we produce.
Sentono immediatamente perché la carne che io cucino.
They realize immediately the meat I cook is much tastier, and so are the vegetables.
La carne che uno va a comprare al negozio. E così pure per le verdure, gli ortaggi. Le ore di lavoro non si contano.
You can't count the hours of work. But it is pleasant to work in your own home and show others what you can do.
Agli altri quello che lui sa fare e quello che lui riesce a fare.
The women of Mogona in Ireland meet every week to discuss farming problems and find concrete solutions.
41% of all women live in rural Ireland. 60% for Irish farms have incomes of less than £5,000 and have to rely, that's what I was saying earlier, have to rely on off-farm incomes. And only 17% of farm women get involved in teagasc training. So the women are the ones that are now having to move out and find money on the side, off-farm income, to supplement that money on the farm.
Diversifying not to leave the country. When the earth alone is not enough, even in prosperous Europe, a support policy and incentives, both in terms of legislation and in the form of loans, for agriculture is essential to experiment with new collateral activities. Europe's rural women are well aware of this and are getting ready to become small farmers with imagination and a spirit of initiative, heedful of the market's new demands. Thank you.